Now it's my honor to introduce our speaker tonight, Dr. Mitchell, who has over 20 years of experience in early childhood education, serves as Director of Professional Development at NACI. She is a published author, advocate for underserved communities, and an active board member with organizations including Reach Out and Read Colorado and PlayWorks Denver. Families, please join me in welcoming Dr. Mitchell.
Thank you, everyone. I'm looking forward to the conversation this evening. And so I'm going to share my screen, and I need to provide a prompt for myself to do that successfully. So give me a moment. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I am incredibly excited to be here this evening to speak with you. And I want to just also preface that I'm always incredibly excited to talk about children and how they grow and learn. And as a parent myself, this is a topic that I cannot get enough of. I mean, so even though my son is an adult now, I still consider all of the areas that we grow as human beings and the impact that it has on our life. So, this conversation today, I'm going to share some information with you, but I want you to also just really think about the children in your homes. And so, regardless of the age, so as you see, I have a little cutie pie here. My favorite age is early childhood. But these principles are across the span of development and growth. So even if you have a teenager, these concepts will be relevant. And I just want everyone to have that at the top of mind because I do speak about young children very often because that's what my passion is. But I hope you can see all of your children in the conversation that we're going to have this afternoon or this evening. So, what we're going to do is understand the developmental continuum. So, what is development? We're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to create an asset and capacity map for your child. But this is just going to be a really quick exercise for you, but I charge you to keep this asset and capacity map handy, so as you're working with your children on specific areas for school or at home, that you can think about these concepts as we move forward. And then we're going to talk about the power of play, and some regulate play to relegate play. It's in the afternoon, guys. I mean, I've worked all day and talked all day. Play, but play is applicable for all of us because what is play? Play is actually practice, the way that we practice our understanding of a particular concept. And then we're going to talk about executive functioning skills, which are critical. So if you have your notepad, this is where I want you to make notes because this is critical when you're talking to teachers and thinking about how to support your children. I know on this call, there's going to be probably one or two of you who have heard the term challenging behavior, who have maybe gotten a report that their child is just too fidgety at school or can't quite focus at school. Much of that is tied to executive functioning skills, and we're going to talk about what that is, and then how you can support children and strengthening their capacity with their executive functioning. And then last, you're going to create a plan to support the executive functioning. So what does that take? You can do that with simple everyday opportunities at home. And so when I'm working with families, often schools talk about curriculum, which they've spent a lot of money on and is really impactful in classrooms. But for families, we need to have access to just everyday opportunities for our children. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. So, are there any questions before we begin the conversation?
Yes, I had a quick question. You did mention note taking. I see that it's recording. Are we allowed to screenshot like right now, like the learning objectives? Like, is that allowed or?
Yes. Yes, yes, please. Whatever it takes. I mean, and so I'm a visual learner, and that's destiny. Destiny,
Yes,
I do
ma'am.
this in every presentation I go. Taking screenshots and making notes. So yes, please do
Okay,
that.
all right.
Because I do
Thank
think
you.
that the information here tonight is very practical. Well, I have it organized in a pretty pragmatic way, like you're gonna say, "Oh my goodness, a lecture." But I think there's some practical nuggets that you can take and use in your everyday experiences with the children in your care. So, any other questions? Okay, so let's start with what can my child do? So I want everybody, and this is when I'm going to try to see if I can be tech savvy and not lose the screen. I'm going to make it so I can see people. And so, but well, so what can your children do? I want everyone. So just you don't have to shout it out, but give me a raise your hand or a emoji or something if you see your child through what they can do, what the possibilities, the capacity. There's one hand, two hand, three hands. And this is not a trick question, but this question is really challenging for many parents because most of the conversations we have with about our children are what they cannot do. Anybody relate to that? Anybody relate to that? They just cannot remember to bring their homework home. They just cannot sit at the circle if they're that little. They just cannot take the trash out. We just talked about that. They just cannot take the trash out. They cannot go to bed on time. Has any of these conversations happened at your house? So what I want you to do is flip that frame of reference that you have for the rest of this evening to only think about what your child can do. And just I want to say that you're going to have to really think hard because even for myself, we want perfect children because we're perfect humans. Let's just say that as parents. And so we're always measuring our children up against the ideal instead of really talking about like what is the real world, what does it really look like to be a human. So think about what your children can do. Now I'm going to try to shrink my screen with my people and I'm going to move on. So, what is child development? What is child development? And so, for many parents and families that I work with, they know that their children are growing and learning. For example, we all know that the colloquial phrase, "You need to crawl before you walk." So we know that there is this way we grow from babies to then teenagers to then adults. So all of us are really cognizant of that fact that there's going to be this change in who we are as the days progress. And I want to say days because when you're a little child, sometimes the expectations for a 5-year old are so huge and they've only been on the planet for 60 months. Does any of that make you shake your head? We have such big expectations and we're like, they've only been alive for 60 months. So I just want you to think about that. But we all know the progression. And so for when we're thinking about child development, we think of child development in four big buckets. So physical development, that's kind of that what can children do with their bodies? So they run, jump, move, they write, they draw, they do back bends and flips and all of those things that children can do is all the movement in your body, those large and fine motor skills. Then we often, the next is cognitive. And this is, and I think when we talk about this, this is probably where schools really focus. So when we're talking about academic success is really one path. How are students processing information and able to articulate that information at a later date? So it's all cognitive, all the thinking functions, all the process orientation. And the challenge with that, and when we move to social and emotional development, is that young children are also grappling with defining their emotions, what they think, or how they feel, and then that social aspect, the connections with other folks. And so when we look at cognitive development, the way that we think, outside of those other areas of development, it's almost a deficit thinking. However, most of our schools are organized in that way. And so most of our report card really articulates cognitive development. So our report card rarely states, and my son was at 5 years old, we called him Mr. Bouncy, rarely states how high your child can jump. Anybody ever get those? He can jump so high, it's magnificent. Oh, did you? And so we don't hear those reports, but that is equally as important as he's able to comprehend the beginning, middle, and end of a story. And so I just want to emphasize that. Are there any questions about child development? And the other part is that we know that the sequence is predictable. The sequence is predictable. I'm going to say it one more time. Sequence is predictable. The only variation is timing. Does that make sense? So we all are going to crawl and then we're going to walk. But the only variation is when we crawl and when we walk. Does that make sense? So if you have a young child who it has 5 brothers and sisters, they're probably going to be running really quickly because they already have these examples. But sometimes little ones who are the first in their family who are held quite often, they may not walk as quickly. Does that make sense? But they're going to still have the same progression of movement. The same goes for the elementary school children. There is a straight path to reading. We're all going to follow the same path to reading, but the timing will be different. The timing will be different. For you, those who have tweens and teens, where there is a straight path on how we build relationship, but the timing will be different for each child on how they're able to manage their emotions to be in relationships with their peers. And so this is notable. So when you are working and you guys are like, I get it. But I think when you receive the reports from teachers, ask teachers based on what? Does that make sense? So based on what? Like Bridget can really run based on what? Based on who? Because our timing and sequence is going to be different. But our it is the child development overall is predictable. Okay, so why is it so important to understand development? First, advocacy. If you do not know what your children can do, you cannot advocate for your children. If you do not know what your children can do, you cannot advocate for your children. May I ask a technical question? Are you able to see my whole screen, or is the camera
I
in the?
can I can see you and your whole screen that you're sharing as well.
Okay, you can see all the words.
No,
Yes, ma'am.
it's not
Well,
in
I
full
can
screen
see.
mode.
Okay, yeah, because I'm gonna go ahead and put it in full screen mode. I didn't want to do that,
Okay.
so that's why I'm checking really quickly. I was trying to avoid that just for ease, but I will go ahead. Now, are you able to see?
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you for that. But so can you see now, even though I have the you all moved to a different place in the can you see my full screen?
Yep, part
Yeah,
one.
it's
What can
back
I
to part one. What can my child do?
Okay, perfect. So I'm not gonna worry anymore. Everybody can see my whole screen, and now let me catch up. Um, thank you for the support. So, but for advocacy, if you are unsure of what your child can do, you are not the best person to say what your child. You can't support what your child can do. And I'm going to use an example. So if and I have grandchildren. Deborah is on the call, and she knows how near and dear they are to me. And so my grandson is in kindergarten, and he is, the teachers have, he's been in kindergarten for a few weeks, and teacher says he needs support with fine motor skills. And so my question is, how so? And the teacher asked, well, what do you mean? I said, so if it's fine motor skills, how so? Because I know what he can do. So at home, he can wash vegetables. He can pick a raspberry up with his with the pincer move. He can, and then the teacher was really specific. Oh, so these are the skills that he's working on now. Do you all see the difference in that? So instead of the general statement of, you know what, he needs to work on his fine motor skills, we got really specific about this is the skill of the five motor skills that he needs to work on, because I was able to articulate what he can do. For a parent, that's your most powerful stance. What can your children do? And all children are learning and growing, so we're all going to get these hopefully these reports that our children are growing in different spaces across the continuum of development. But hopefully you're also the champion in speaking about what your child can do. And then this supports partnerships with teachers. When teachers realize that you understand development, then they can have a different conversation with you. They can have a developmental conversation. It is no longer hypothetical. They can be real specific about what it is that they are, where it is that they're working with your children. I too bad recess is not in all of the elementary schools all the time, and children don't run and jump. But this is one of the areas that would be just lovely to partner with teachers to say, how high can he swing? So did anybody remember when you were a kid and it was a swing on the playground and you just went as high as possible? And I hope I'm not dating myself, but that is a special skill, to be able to move the body to get the momentum to swing. And so just those kinds of reports in partnership with families, because if your child can move their body to swing, your child probably can move their body to crawl. So we can make those kinds of inferences from other skills that we are observing. And then focuses on what your child can do. That's what we've talked about. But it reframes how other people speak about your child's assets. And now I want to see everybody. Reframes about what other people, and I'm not good at this, so I'm just going to try to stretch my. Now, are you guys still seeing my PowerPoint while I stretch you all out? Can somebody say yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, I just want, so how many of you, and please somebody get off the mic, has had the occasion when you've gotten a report about your child, or someone said something about your child, and you're like, wow, that really seems like negative. That doesn't seem very optimistic, and I don't know where to go from here. Anybody ever get one of those reports where you feel like, okay,
I have not gotten one of those reports, but as I mentioned in the chat, I'm currently taking the early child education class, and they teach us to like work on how we do speak to
yeah.
parents. So, like you said, mentioning the things that they can do, or giving the questionnaires, like can your baby pick up a Cheerio and like things like that. So, I haven't had like a bad, feedback, but I love that they are teaching and putting out there for them to watch how they speak to parents and stuff.
Thank you, and yay, you were in the early childhood class. Congratulations.
Thank
So
you.
in anyone ever, my son has ADD, so I had so many, every day I had a report.
My
So
I have two kids, and both of them have ADHD. One of them is gifted, and one of them is not. And the one that's not gifted has an IEP. In the first year, he actually had to repeat kindergarten. The first year that he went to school, we got a lot of those. He's not doing this. He's not doing this, but they weren't telling me what I needed to do to fix it or
yes.
helping me. And it was my first year, so I, of course, didn't really know what questions to ask and how to make it better. But they got a new lady who actually helped me along the way. When he did his second kindergarten year, the new lady that does their IEPs, she tells you what you need to do and how to help him, which is really nice. So it's like night and day, because some people do, oh, this is how you should do it, but some don't.
And I think that so, and being a mom of a child with ADD, sometimes I felt really like defeated and helpless after some parent teacher conferences.
Yes.
But I think once I learned about development and could be able to be articulate, so hopefully the content that I give you here will help you have the language to inquire and partner with teachers, but to celebrate children. So especially children with, thank you for Savannah for mentioning IEP. So IEPs often focus on one area that we're working on, and so the questions that I would ask now, not when my son was young, if I knew what I then what I know now, but I would ask, so like, so how long will we work on this skill? So it seems like the focus is on cognitive development. So, what about the peer relationships that are happening in this classroom? Do you see how I'm using the language? Like his friendships are equally as important as some of these other skills. And so, the purpose of this conversation is really so that you can help others. And so, I found that when I'm speaking to teachers who know that I know this language of development, it shifts the conversation. I mean, it goes to, wow, what other ideas do you have? You know what? He can do that. You know what? This is successful. And this is a great strategy that we could use at home and in the classroom. So, thank you for sharing. I always love when folks can share, because that's how we learn. And then it ensures that we can tailor strategies and support specific for the children. And going back to the IEP, if every IEP shouldn't be the same, because Bridget is different than I see Hensley and Liz and Jamie, and then Kristen is different than Portia. And so even though we may all be working on reading, we need different support in different areas. And so this language of development helps you to really drill down to how the work is specific to your child. Any questions before I move on?
Yeah, I have one. So my kids don't go to school. I'm a homeschool parent. I have five
Okay.
kids, and my oldest is 8, and she has an incredibly high IQ, but her emotional development is a challenge. So how would you address something like that? Like
Mhm.
she's 8, but has more of the emotional development of a 4-year-old, but she's like a teenager when it comes to intellect and reading and like that cognitive, like you were talking about.
So that thank you for that example. That's a beautiful case in point. And so we see children like that. Remember, children are growing on the continuum. So all four of these levers, physical, cognitive, social, emotional, are present. But sometimes they're working on physical, and sometimes they're working on cognitive, and so your example, there's nothing to do about it. There's no one a solution to it. That is the progression of her development, and so
Right.
ways that you might enhance and we'll talk about that, some of those areas, or give her more opportunities to practice in some of those areas. But I say she's growing just right. I mean, so it's her, it's who she is. And we'll see that with all children. When I was a child, I've always been, I should have known I'd be a professor, a speaker, or something. I've always read everything written. I could read things that big people, I used to call them big people can't read this. But I had no friends. Socially, I had tremendous deficit. I wasn't interested in other humans. So, but I was my area that I needed to work on and grow in was social development. So, thank you. And your button says anonymous, so I don't know your name, but thank you for sharing that, because
Yeah, Rivka, sorry. Yeah, because it's having a gifted kid, but then there's the flip side, like you're talking about.
so but don't but so not gifted, but so that it gifted is gifted. And so because we have the four levers, and just I would just, in your mind, close your eyes and think about four buttons: physical, cognitive, social, emotional. all of the buttons can't be at the highest level. When you're driving, I'm going to use an analogy. I'm not the best driver, but I'm going to use a driving analogy. I don't know why. If I put my car in sport mode and all those little clicker things, so everybody knows all those shifter things, and you can't do all of those things at one time. You've got to make a choice of which one. Right now, her strongest area is cognitive, but that does not mean, so not gifted, but she's gifted. She's still working these other areas. She's growing. And then my question would be, based on what is the comparison? What are we saying that the who are we comparing it to when we look at where she ought to be? Is it yeah, that I'm not gonna go on that. That's a whole nother lecture, Deborah. So, but who is
Well,
it?
yeah, I appreciate that because that's why I love homeschooling because you can tailor it to each kid. And if a kid, no one's ever behind or ahead. It's like where they're at, like exactly what you're saying.
And I believe that in life. I believe that no child is ahead of another child or behind. It's just the standards that adults create to put children in these little categories. And so that's the power of development. When we're talking about development, then it means that we're all on this kind of even playing field, if you will. But if we're only talking about cognitive development with like we do in school, then we can say that Heather can read better than Bridget, or Jamie is stronger than Rachel, or Savannah can do better than Hensley. Do you guys see? But when we're talking about the full continuum of development, then there's no comparison because each person is on their own path to be the strongest. So thank you for that. I get excited about this stuff. I love this stuff, guys. I love this stuff. And so let's first talk about the cognitive development. So what does cognitive development entail? Cognitive development entails language. And a note about language. So some children are English second language. And so if you're in a classroom and the teachers, are saying, well, they're a little bit behind because they speak another language, though it's the exact opposite. Children are not behind who have dual or multi languages. They are actually ahead. So the research says that in kindergarten, if they are all, that child may not even speak really well, but by fourth grade, academically, that child will be stronger than his or her peers who spoke one language. So know that language is this really unique process that has to happen. And so children who speak multiple languages, they are doing two things. They're living, listening in one language, living in one language, dissecting, interpreting. They're doing all of these things at one time. And so sometimes we see, it seems that we have a delay in speech, but generally that is temporary because those children are really strong. So I just want to put that out there for anyone who has children who speak multiple languages. Literacy, it is the ability to read, the ability to interpret meaning from words. That's part of cognitive development. This is no secret or no surprise to you all because this is how teachers measure success academically for children from the moment they're in kindergarten through 12th grade and even college. So that what is the literacy ability, but then critical thinking, and this is really important in the sense that now I'm going to try to see you all again. It's so hard, but I think I'm doing what I want to do when I can stretch your faces. So critical thinking is so special, and it's so necessary. So can anyone define critical thinking for me? Just at the just top of their mind, what is critical thinking?
Would that be like problem solving or no?
Problem solving. Yes. Any other ideas about critical thinking? I'm going to say this. I'm going to give everybody a parent shout out. You are parents. We are problem solving, navigating, troubleshooting every day as parents, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to use my example. When my son was little, I was a single mom. I'm like, oh my goodness. He's like, Mama, I want spaghetti. Okay, we only got noodles today. We don't have the I don't have hamburger. you want hot dogs? Yeah, spaghetti and hot dogs. We're always making these decisions, making so that the world makes sense for us. That's what critical thinking skills are. Remember that when we get to executive functioning. We want every child to have critical thinking skills. That means that they can create sense of their reality right now. They can troubleshoot. I hate to bring up COVID 19 back in 2020, but that is probably like a master class on critical thinking. We were trying to solve and walk at the same time. Anybody remember that? It's like, what do you do about this? What do you do about that? Where do I get my groceries? Oh my goodness! What's going to happen? How do we do this? That's that critical thinking. That's when you take this body of knowledge that you already have, body of experience you already have, and you turn it into something that's usable right now. So cognitive development houses those critical thinking skills for young children.
Dr. Mitchell, Destiny had a quick question, she said in the
Yes,
chat.
yes, please.
Yes, sorry, yes. My question was, okay, so I love that you mentioned how like each children kind of like develop and do certain things on their own timing. So like I just had a question, like how is it that like teachers are able to tell like when a child is behind on certain things if we should base it off of their own timing, if that makes sense?
Yep. Yeah. So yes. So again, child development is predictable and sequential, and so we know
Okay.
it's going to happen. We know the steps that are going to happen, but it happens differently for everyone. And so this goes back to IEP, identification of special needs and special supports for children. So there are, developmental milestones. So we know probably by the time a child is 18 months, they're probably going to be walking. Do you
Okay.
see? So we know that
Okay.
like the target, but what that means is that that's the target. So that means that some will walk at 10 months, some are 12 months, some are going to walk 19 months. But that we do have
Right.
like a gold standard, kind of a direction that we're moving toward. So by
Okay.
24 months, then I'm thinking, this child needs support in physical development if they're
Gotcha.
not walking. So so just know everything is a range, and the environment, well, I'm not teaching that tonight, but the environment dictates what that looks like. And again, the best way, the example that I love is a new parent with only one child. They have that commercial, life happens fast. The mom has all of this
Mhm.
stuff, and but with one child, you see that child may do everything at a slower pace. Why? The child is being held more often. A mom with two children and a new baby, that third child will walk more quickly because there's not a lot of opportunity for support from the adult. Does that make sense? And that's just a example, but that's a good question. That's how we know. We know that there's a range. And then problem solving. We want children to be able to work through. And again, just make this note for yourself, is the most used to define academic success. So when people say that children are college ready, kindergarten ready, and I that's another lecture. I don't like any of those because I think that schools should be ready for children, and children don't need to be ready for school. And I know that sounds so confusing, but the schools should be ready for the children. And so, but that's most of your report cards. This is the what most families are accustomed having conversations about. Now, any questions about cognitive development before we move on? So the next is physical development, and that's that large motor. This little guy is riding his bike. This is when you can run, jump, play, move, all of these things. And again, these things are really, really important because development is on a continuum, and they all are interrelated. And so movement impacts learning. And I want to say that unfortunately our children don't get a lot of opportunities to move, and many times when they're moving, too much, we see that, oh, they must have ADHD. I see folks who are not qualified to just casual conversation because it's one of the diagnoses that's most commonly used. If you see a child running in a circle and doing a flip, you'll say, oh, he probably has ADHD. And it's amazing to me that we don't say, well, wow, that is developmentally appropriate for this age. At 3, they should jump because they just learned they have these large muscles in their legs. At 10, they should want to rollerblade and skate and do all of these things because this is the time when their bodies can do these things, and they're practicing these really important skills. Fine motor, writing, drawing, putting puzzles together, building things with blocks. This is another really important body physical movement that ties back to critical thinking. Isn't this amazing? We look at them in isolation, but to build, to construct, that goes back to critical thinking, because in order to do that, I need to have a plan. And then sensory, how I feel and use my senses to navigate the world around me. And large motor is the least supported in schools, the least. And yet this is the most common area that you're going to get a report about your child. If they're in the classroom, this is the most common area of a report. So I want to see if what I'm saying is true. Anybody get to report that their children are just moving too much and flipping too much and kicking too much and jumping too much, wiggling too much and doing all of those things too much? Guess what? They should be doing those, but the classroom does not support those activities. And so in that case, if I receive the report, not Bridget as a mom back in the day, but Bridget as now I know child development, I would say, what opportunities for jumping do you have during the school day? Right? What opportunities? Are they're just kicking the ball, and wow, how often do we kick balls at school? So just think about that. But this is probably where children are identified as they need additional support just by body movement, which is very necessary for them to connect the dots with those other areas of development. Social development. And so this is, to me, one of the most critical aspects in adult-child relationships, but parent-child relationships. For children to be good friends and good citizens and good folks in the community, guess what? We have to model that. We model that. We model conversation. We model interaction. We model eye contact. We model trust. We model respect. And this is, just know that the notion that the parent is the child's first teacher, the home is the child's first teacher of being a human. Isn't that cool? The home. So you can bring your beautiful baby into my classroom, but you have done the work already. And so those relationships that you form when you're making a bowl of cereal and you're talking about what you're going to do outside today, or what shirt you're going to wear, or whatever the conversations are, you are rehearsing for your child to be an incredible citizen in the world. So these relationships are important. So in our hurried lives, and I know, and I've been there, so please know that I'm not discounting the hurry. Take the time and have conversations on the way to school, instead of saying, you know what, mommy's exhausted. Or daddy, I just don't have time. Listen to the children, engage in conversations. These things strengthen overall development. When you're in conversation with your children, guess what else they learn? They learn how to solve the problems of the world because you're talking about them. You're talking about the dog doesn't have enough food and we've got to pick some up on our way home from school. That's a problem, right? The problem is the puppy needs food, and our strategy is going to be when after school, we're going to go get the dog some food and the ice cream cone. And so you're doing all of these interactions that you have with your children. Teach them the sequence of problem solving, of thinking through, of making plans, of building strategies. So these relationships are important. The other element of adult-child relationship is language, vocabulary. And so we send our kids off to school, and we know that they're going to have reading and writing and vocabulary exams and all of those things. But what is the cultural language in your home? And not if you speak another language, you don't have to speak a foreign language. But I don't know about you, but we have our own code in my house. Anybody else raise your hand? We have our own funny sayings that we make up. Anybody else? Or am I the only one making up words and using them every day in my family? You guys don't do that too. And so
We
that
totally do that.
okay, that is you're demonstrating your culture to your children. Your children are learning that, wow, we have these funny words that only we know. This is all about us. So this is really important as we think about the connections that we have for young children. So just know the one thing that you can do and we don't have to pay for, we Fisher Price doesn't make it, Walmart doesn't have it, is the conversation that you have with your children, the warmth, the love that you express for your children. And I am on my soapbox right now because I think parents don't know the power that they have to create and to nurture a human being that's going to contribute positively to society. Those children have been talked to, loved, hugged, kissed, giggled with, and sometimes get a belly laugh with your babies. Belly laugh when you drop the milk and it's all over the floor, instead of saying, "Really? I just got off the work and now I got to mop the floor before dinner. Just go sit down and let me do all these things." Just say, "That was the funniest step I've ever seen today. That was my funniest thing today. And can you help me?" So, anybody have any comments on adult child interaction before I move on? And I hope you guys have silly stories that only your babies know. Only they know. This is you, because that is so important. And then peer-to-peer relationships. They're brothers and sisters, but also promote those relationships with those children, those other children at school. I just recently did a presentation, and a mom said, "I just try to keep my kids away from everybody because I don't know what other parents are teaching their children." And I'm like, wow, that is really interesting. So I did the exact opposite. I want my child to learn about a lot of different. Oh, there's a cute little guy on Kristen's screen. Hi, good to meet you. I love kids. So, but encourage your children to have those relationships with their peers, and then these relationships, social development is a key indicator for academic success. But isn't that different from cognitive, the way that they report what our children are doing? Relationship is the key to academic success. So tomorrow when you drive your kids to school, engage in a silly conversation. When you're cooking breakfast, going before you go to bed, remember, talk to your children and hear what they're thinking about in the world. Any questions on social development?
No, but you said about a story with the kids. My, we're always, when we're in the car, sometimes we'll be talking about things and like the clouds, and we'll kind of imagine things, and it's a way to connect with, especially with my 6-year-old. And then funny to see my 16-year-old where he is in his stage, and then we kind of try to bring him back into that silliness. And then eventually we're just kind of talking. So
I love that. And you know what? Kids just want to talk about anything. And it's funny. And the other thing, so I'm gonna give you guys one more pro tip. I attended a conference, a music conference. I've been doing this for almost 30 years, and so I am kind of cynical about conferences. I'm like, oh, what could they teach me? What else could what could I learn about children that I don't already know? But this conference, Dr. Collins she's from Canada. She was the presenter and she does music. And she has done research on music and children. This is so powerful because our language is really singing. I'm a classically trained vocalist, and so some folks say you have a big voice for your body because I'm speaking like I'm singing an opera song. I mean, I'm just because I learned to do that breathing. But the power of singing, and sing everything. And so for my grandchildren, we sing so many songs that they now take the songs to kindergarten. So my favorite song of late was, my grandson is a picky eater, and he said, Gigi, what are we gonna eat for dinner? And I was like, mashed potatoes, chicken, and corn on the cob. You think okay, everybody, you guys don't think I'm silly. I love babies. So, but the funny thing, he taught this to his kindergarten teacher. And he goes to speech therapy. Anybody see the power in this? He was able to sing that with perfect everything, pronunciation, everything. But he goes to speech therapy, and they're working on sounds, and those sounds were actually in that song. And it was powerful to have it reported back. So, in addition to those beautiful stories, make up silly songs with your kids. Really engage your children, immerse your children in just the sound of humans interacting with each other. Okay. And you guys know I get excited about this stuff. I love this stuff. Okay, so emotional development. Labeling emotions. So many of you, I don't care if you have kindergartners or high schoolers, our children don't always know how to label what their emotions are. So when you see emotions, and it's easy, so happy is easy, right? Oh, you're happy. You got the cookie that you wanted. Oh, we say these all the time. But what about those other emotions? It's really important to articulate these other things. So recently, my granddaughter, who's 3, threw the Lego, but I have all hardwood floors, threw the Lego bucket across the floor. Now that was dramatic, and you got to be a really in control Gigi, because you got to be like, I ain't even hear that. The sound was so big, that hard plastic on the floor. But thinking about how you support your children, and so labeling emotions. And so she said, I'm mad, Gigi. I'm mad. And I said, well, I can tell that you're mad. I heard that big sound. That sound was so big, it only could come from mad. She said, yes, I'm mad. And I said, so what happens now? And she said, I don't know. And I said, can we sit down and just think about it? And the sound was so big, I think I maybe need to take a deep breath. I'm with a 3-year-old. And so I said, can you help me? Because Gigi can't always make the biggest breaths. My breaths are too little sometimes. And so we're taking these big breaths and these big breaths. And then I start prompting, so how is that making you feel? She said, Gigi, I feel happy. Gigi, I feel happy. Gigi, I want to play. Do you see how, just breathing? And so she went to Gigi, I'm mad, to Gigi, I feel. She's articulating different feelings based on what has happened. And so that story really exemplifies for us to help them to label where they are. And I'm not going to kid you, sometimes like Legos going all across your floor is a big sound. But thinking about like what was the trigger for that? What made that really hard? How can I give her or him the words so that the next time that big feeling comes, that they may have a different opportunity of how they might respond? And so labeling emotions is probably one of the best gifts that you could give any teacher in the classroom. And so when families, and I'm going to say this because we are models, when we are adults and we are in arguments with, and we are adults, so humans are going to disagree. And so if you stomp out of the room and walk away, and your children see you stomp out of the room and walk away, how are they going to address when they're in a situation that's high emotion? They're going to stomp their feet and walk away. So I challenge you that when you're in these, especially when children can observe, you call out your emotion and say, wow, I'm really disappointed. I'm disappointed. I'm so disappointed that I don't have words. so that they know, like, wow, mommy's disappointed. And that's what disappointed looks like. And if I get disappointed, maybe this is the how I can navigate the world in the same kind of way. And then the next is self regulation, which we're going to talk about really in depth with executive functioning skills. Self regulation is applicable across the lifespan to include you. So if you got a mirror, look in your mirror. Know that sometimes we're not self regulated. We are not regulated sometimes. And when we're not regulated, generally is when we are in an extreme emotional situation. And so most folks know me and they're like, oh my God, Bridget is so chill and so calm. And so, but if I had to fight for a baby, I got another girl in me. And so I'm going to fight for that baby. And we all have that in us, right? And so just know that, and I'm not so regulated when I have to fight for a baby. But when I'm, if the world is good and the sky is blue and the sun is shining, the grass is green and the pretty flowers, I'm chill. But when I'm championing the needs of a baby, children, or families, I have a lot more energy. So think about your own regulation, and then think about how you can model so children are able to self-regulate. So my grandson, and I have a lot. Deborah can tell you a lot of grandchildren stories, but my 5-year-old grandson got really upset, and so he went under the dining room table, and he was like, like just really angry. And so I said, you know what? Sometimes when I feel like I don't know what to do, I just need to sit down. Do you guys see how I do that? I did this for my granddaughter. I just need to sit down. And then and if that's not enough, I have to do some dinosaur breathing. He looked at me like, what? His favorite thing is dinosaurs. You got to know what their favorite thing is. I said, sometimes I have to do dinosaur breathing. And he's like, what is Gigi talking about now? And I said, would you like me to show you how I do my dinosaur breathing? He's still mad. He's like, yes, I want to see dinosaur breathing. And so we go in my living room, and I have this giant chair that 3 people can sit in. Now it's my dinosaur breathing chair, and I just start ah, ah. And then I'm like, whoo, I feel better. Now I'm ready for my regular breathing. Now I'm ready to talk to people again. And so this little boy now, when he has big emotion, he walks to the side and he does dinosaur breathing. He is 5 years old and can regulate himself that way. And I tell you that story so that you can think of like what are the ways that you can support your children and more importantly yourself. Sometimes if I'm unregulated, I'll just say out loud now because we have our secret language of dinosaur breathing. Gigi needs to go do some dinosaur breathing. He says, I'll help you, Gigi. I'll help you do it. And so just think about like ways to self-regulate. Emotional development is also a key indicator for academic success. Anybody see a theme here? Cognitive development is how we measure academic success, but these other drivers across the developmental continuum are integral for children to be able to have academic success. Any questions about this section of the presentation? Any overall questions about development?
I don't have a question, but I just want to, I put it in the chat, but just so families, if you guys can work on changing your names, your first and last name. I know some people did already let us know. That way you guys can get credit for tonight's session. So if you don't know how to do it, you just click on the 3 dots and then click rename, and then that way you can change it. And if you don't know how to do it, if you can just type it in the chat, that way we can give you credit for tonight. Sorry, thank you.
Oh, that's perfect. That was perfect. And because I'm having so much fun and I only have an hour left, we're going to do this activity together. I know that hopefully you all got handouts for this evening, but let's just do a little bit of talking out loud. And so, but what I want you to do, we just talked about the areas of development: cognitive, physical, social, emotional. I want you each to think about which area is your child's greatest strength. What is their asset? What do they bring? And we can think about this. First of all, do you all have the worksheet? Do you all have the worksheet?
I
can't.
downloaded mine PDF.
Okay, but you have it in PDF?
Yeah, we got it, or I had it in the email, and then it was also in the band.
Okay, so what we're going to do in the interest of time, it's okay. So everyone, the only areas that I don't have on the screen is cognitive, physical, social, and emotional. And let's just talk out loud a little bit. And I want to hear you celebrate your babies. What are your child's assets? So everybody, just think about that one for a minute. What are your child's asset? What are your child's assets? A few shout outs. Think about your baby, and it can be cognitive, physical, social, or emotional. What are their assets?
Helpful.
Oh, somebody, I can't hear you.
Helpful.
Oh, your child is helpful. Any other assets? Everybody should be off their mic.
My son is very kind, and my daughter she likes to run a lot. She's very active. Okay.
I love that. And I love kind. Oh my God. Okay. Tanya, you're off mic. I'll call everybody out. Tanya.
I have 5 children. They're all very intelligent and their personalities are all really unique. So I have some that are exceptionally kind. I have some that are incredibly outgoing and very good at connecting with their peers and making those relationships. All of my children are active. Both of my older sons are very interested in their health and strength training. So they're both really strong boys and they take care of their bodies. So we've got a lot of really amazing attributes that run the gambit with as many kids as I have.
That is awesome. Awesome. Hensley, I see you're off mic.
Yeah, my son is very athletic and he's also very empathetic.
I love that. Don't you love just celebrating your babies? I mean, it's so good. And the fun thing is, you made these humans. You made them. Rachel, what would you like to share?
I have 3 kids. My oldest is very smart. He loves reading and just learning and reads all day. And my other one is extremely thoughtful of other people. And the little one is just very joyful and
I
social.
love that. Janine.
Hi, I've been loving this. I have 3 kiddos, really blessed, and my son, he has just a tender heart towards others. And then my daughter, she's our social butterfly and will love on people. And then Eva's my youngest, and just a lot of energy, and yeah, they're all athletic and yeah, are joyful.
I love that. Anybody else? What are your child's assets? Everybody should be off.
Yes, we have some
My
in the
son
comments.
Dontavius is a really great leader. He was asked to be like one of the 8th graders that even helped the 6th graders with getting comfortable around the school. He's a really great role model. He's honor roll student, great at basketball. Decorious, he's kind of the same as well. I mean, he's kind of quiet, but he likes to really help his friends around the classroom. He's very helpful with me at home. Both of them are. And then my youngest, she is 18 months, and she likes to act like she's reading, so she's very verbal.
Oh, I love it. Charisse.
I was gonna say we have some comments. Heather said caring and kind. Jamie said mine is loving and outgoing and educated. And Taylor said my 5-year-old is the most giving child. She likes to make everyone gifts and likes to decorate the house to show them how special they are. Amanda, sorry, I'm like, you guys are all doing so awesome. I can't keep up. Amanda said, I have 2 sons. I have one that is very creative with storytelling, and my other one is very talented in painting. Jamie White said, my oldest is very helpful with his younger brothers and has a lot of grit.
I love those. I mean, and so anybody else want to share before we move to our next question? So this is to celebrate our babies. So anybody else?
I have 6 kids.
Oh wow.
They go from 18 all the way down to 1 year old. They're all very helpful with each other. Um, sorry. They're all very helpful and they're all pretty funny.
I love that pretty funny. I mean, I think children have the most wonderful sense of humor. So now I'm going to ask another tough question. What does your child do really well? What does your child, what is the one thing they do really well? And if you have multiple children, then you have multiple answers. But what does your child really do really well?
My excuse me, I have 3 kids, but I have 2 in school, and my oldest one, he does a lot of like building things. He builds things really well. He really likes Minecraft. He gets to build all his little things. And my middle one is he does really good at math. That's where he's gifted. He is 6 years old and he does multiplication and division and talks about numbers that have 60 zeros and 600 zeros and knows all the fancy names, and it's crazy.
That is amazing.
So my daughter Wednesday, she is really good at communicating. She she's really good at math, and my daughter Letty, she's really loving and is good at giving hugs. Yeah.
I love that, really good at giving hugs. That made my heart so happy. I love that. Okay, sorry. Those things just like, oh my goodness. I love children. Who else? What does your child do really well?
One class I can be great at is doing good in all my classes because I'm an honor roll student, so I get straight A's.
Oh my gosh, Destiny, that was your son.
Yes, that's my oldest. That's Dontavius.
Oh my gosh. Very nice to meet you.
Say hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Their school's having an event here at Skate City, so we're multitasking.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you. Sharice, did you have your hand up?
Oh, I was waving. I was just
okay.
saying hello. I was just saying hello. But there are some comments. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Portia.
No, I was just gonna say there are some comments also from Kylie Harper. Art, social, and easily makes friends. Gift giving. My youngest is very creative, drawing, and my oldest is athletic. And on National Honor Society, loving school. Jamie White, my oldest, is very creative with building Legos, very physical, strong, and enjoys going to the gym with his dad. My youngest is so energetic and he's really social, which I think is a lovable trait that will help him as he gets older.
I love it. Awesome. Anybody else?
I would like to say something about my kids.
What did you say? I'm sorry. You cut up a little bit.
I didn't know if somebody else was gonna talk, so.
Oh, no,
But
go
I
ahead.
would like to say, I guess for dads, it's a little bit hard to think about the things that they do well. So I like when you first started, and it kind of got me thinking, what do my kids do very well? My 16-year-old, he's good in academics. I mean, any class, when he falls behind, he does the work and he is passionate about it. He's good with technology. I never thought I would say this, but he has helped me with internet cameras, recording stuff, videos. I thought I was the geek, but he has out-geeked me, which is good. I think he's very good with his friends. He is a very good friend, I think. And then my 6-year-old, she's very compassionate. Her heart for others when they're hurting is incredible. She likes to read. I mean, she reads a lot. She's only started reading a couple weeks ago, a month ago, 2 months ago, 4 months ago. And she is reading stuff like all over. I mean, she will read signs, and it's pretty cool to see her that. She's good at drawing. She wrote her first book. Yesterday, I saw her write her first paragraph, and she even made pictures for her stories. So she loves running. She makes me run all over. Yeah, so for my kids.
Thank you. And I'm glad that thank you for saying it did. It makes you think. I think sometimes it's got to be at the top of our mind because when our days get busy, we're just always trying to fix stuff. But we don't have to fix everything. Sometimes all of the great things are right in front of us. We just have to remember to see them. So, and those are our babies. So, now I'm going to ask you, what brings your child joy? What like when you like this is it. So when my son was little, Legos, he could build the most complex structures on the planet. I've never seen anything like it out of these little bitty plastic things. And he still is analytical in his job. It requires a lot of thinking about really intricate details. And so he always had joy in that. So when you look at your children, what brings them joy?
For mine, it would be basketball and sorry, whoever I cut off. For mine, it would be basketball and math, or like any board games. Sometimes I'll cut off the Wi-Fi and we'll just bring up the board games.
Awesome. Anybody else?
My oldest really likes technology of any kind that makes him happy. It literally does not matter if it's a tablet or an Xbox or a computer, a TV, literally anything that is technology. And my middle one really, really likes calculators to go along with his little math obsession. He calculators for his birthday and Christmas. So
I love that. Anybody else? What brings your child joy?
I like going to water parks. It really brings me a lot of joy, and it's just like super fun.
Thank you. What is your name?
Joanna.
Well, Joanna, thank you for sharing. Anybody else?
So with my oldest, he enjoys playing guitar and mastering new things on the guitar. My oldest daughter, she loves being with her friends. She's so social. That's her happy places when she's with her friends. My middle son, it's really very sweet. He's a very, very strong, physically strong guy, and he likes helping people with that. He enjoys doing things to help others and use his strength for that. And my youngest two, they're both just very creative, music and physical affection. They're a very snuggly bunch of people. And so that, I think just that safety and security there brings them and me a lot of joy.
I love snuggly people. Okay, thanks for sharing that because I'm a snuggly person. Heather, I think your little one was sharing.
Jelly, come back here. They want to hear what you want and what you love. What makes you happy?
No.
What makes you happy? Hurry up. They're waiting. Would you say crafting at school and
I love it. I'm happy about
you like playing games
I like playing games
and building Legos?
and playing Legos. I'm happy about making something.
Making things?
Yeah, I love Legos.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? Anybody else? What brings your child joy?
Mine for both is interesting. They both like Legos.
I already told them you like the puzzle thing.
Water park and baking cookies.
Oh, cookies. Yes. Hensley, what brings your child joy?
Playing sports and reading books.
Awesome. Are there any, Sharice, are there any in the chat? I can't see the chat.
Yes, there's lots in the chat. Sorry, I don't want to miss anyone. Singing, dancing. My son is good for soccer. My daughter's good at ballet. My kids like family time together. Movie night with families. My youngest loves to dance, sing, and truly loves her family. Playing with her. My oldest loves trying and mastering new things and doing her best whatever she does. My son is filled with joy when he gets to help daddy work. My girls just love it when they get to hold their new baby brother. Aw. And I think playing in general, plus kids learn so much from playing. So lots of great comments.
Awesome. And so now what I want you to do, and you don't have to share this next one. Oh, it went to my other, I just can't do this technology thing. So for the final one, I want you to, because now you have all of your children's assets, the things that they do really well. And so because, based on the development, the areas of the development, physical, cognitive, social, and emotional, I want you to just think to yourself, like, okay, so if of each of the four, which does my child need support, or which could I strengthen, work with my child and strengthen? And so, and you don't have to say these out loud, but
Hmm.
it'll give you a place to think about when you're working with teachers. So the teachers may say, your child has straight A's, and you may think that they could benefit from social development. So your question you might ask is, oh, so how well are they making friends? Do you guys see? So just thinking about those other areas that you are trying to strengthen for your children. So thank you for sharing about the babies. Oh my goodness! I hope you guys enjoy like celebrating your babies out loud. And so, for the areas of development, we know that there is only one thing that can really help for us to support across the areas of development. Play. And Maria Montessori calls it play is the work of the child. Some folks are afraid of the word play because they see children aren't afraid to play. That's why they like Legos and baking cookies and making doing stuff, painting stuff, because play is the way that children learn about the world around them. It is the way that they test and try new ways to do things. Play is the only way that they can experiment and explore on their own terms. So thinking about a water balloon. My brothers love water balloons, and I'm just gonna say I got hit by quite a few water balloons. They're not my favorite, but think about the what you learn from a water balloon. When you drop a water balloon off the porch onto the concrete and you get that splash. I'm not gonna do a lecture on physics. What could a child learn from that splash? There's so many beautiful elements in just dropping a water balloon. That is how important play is. And so children may not know the physics problem involved, but they will know the dynamics of cause and effect, and the weight of the water, and the thinness of the latex balloon. So play is the way that children figure out the answers to the world around them. So what are the characteristics of play? And I'm sorry, I'm trying to manage because I want to see you all too, but I'm trying to manage that. So first, it is how children learn, but it's organic. Play is the stuff that happens. It just happens automatically. They don't need you to play. This is how you know it's play. I hear a lot of people, families say, "Okay, why don't you go sit down and play and let's play." Children are already playing, but parents may not recognize it as playing because we always think that it has to be like some specific material. Play just happens. I want you to think about your own childhood and think about your fondest memory of playing. And more often than not, it did not require some elaborate, expensive apparatus. My favorite thing, favorite opportunity for play was a rainy day with my brothers and sisters. We had the old wooden blocks and we created a worm hospital. We were saving earthworms. You know, when it rains, all the earthworms come to the top. My brother had a ice cream bucket. We collected as many earthworms we could, and we did surgery, poor earthworms. But that was a really fun explorationist play. We were thinking about how do we care, nurture, protect, and help another a living thing survive. It's baby, I mean, young children. I think the oldest, I was in first grade. My sister kindergarten, and my brother hadn't started school yet, and we were doing that. And so that's the power of play. It's organic. It just happens. It is joyful. Children will do it all day. You can't tell them to stop. They are just engrossed in it. They are so happy. And I know everybody said, come eat your lunch and then you can go back to play, and they just take one bite and they run back to what they're doing. They are having so much fun exploring and whatever effort they have created. It is child initiated. I'm going to say this again. It is child initiated. I know the holiday time is coming and we get all these cool things and we go like, what are they going to do with it? And sometimes they only want the box. I know I'm not the only parent. They're like, wow, I got Snoopy wrapping paper. That's more fun than whatever it was in the package. But it's child initiated. They are, and it's self-directed. They know what they're trying to learn. It is process and not product. It does not matter what they make, but as long as they're in this stuff, in this cycle, in this um, organic event that they've created. And there are still schools to this day. It's heartbreaking to me that everybody makes the same thing. It's just so heartbreaking to me. Our children are so have so much more in them. So they can they all make the same rock with the same googly eyes and give it to their mom for Mother's Day? Yes, they can. But can they do more? Yes, they can. And it's not about what they make, but it's what did it take to make it? What were the children learning from the making? And so, why play all day? Because children should create meaning of their world. You all, through those adult child relationships and those beautiful conversations and connecting the dots for them. But I love the calculator story. I'm just going to say the calculator story was beautiful. That is play that your son is doing with that calculator, looking at all those zeros. He is creating meaning. And it's so good, the story, when you listen to what children do of the world. So can you only but imagine, like, what is he thinking when he sees all of those zeros? That is just intriguing to me, creating meaning out of the world. And then promotes critical thinking. They have to be able to connect the dots. For those Lego lovers and Minecraft, children have to be able to systematize the material that they're using to craft and create what is in their mind. To make what's in their mind come alive, critical thinking is involved. And I'm just gonna pause for a minute because it gets it really excited when we see the outcome. I mean, if only we could be in their mind to say, you know what, I'm gonna choose a blue block, and then I'm gonna choose a green block, and then you know what, I'm gonna go over there and get the wheels off of the car, and then you know what, I need rocks, and then they make this stuff. And that whole process of getting that critical thinking to what they want to do. It promotes persistence. So those children who have ADD and ADHD, uninterrupted play is the cure. Give your children opportunities so that, and I know this is not the lecture on what to do, you can do, but this is a great way. Give open-ended toys and materials like art, like paint and clay and Legos, and those children who have a difficult time with sticking with one thing, then let them play uninterrupted. Do not interrupt them. Don't say, okay, that's enough of that. Now it's time to do this. David Eckline wrote The Hurried Child. So we hurry our children through the next thing, through the next thing, through the next thing. And then there's a high diagnosis of ADHD and ADD. So the persistence to stick with something a long time until you get the answer, until you create what you want to create, or what you're looking for. Did somebody say something? Janine? Okay, no.
I was agreeing. Sorry, that was me. I was agreeing.
Oh, you're agreeing. Okay. Okay.
Oh, I didn't say anything, but I was gonna say, because you're talking about, making the kids move from one thing to another. I actually substitute teach for the school district, my kids' school district, and then it's my least favorite part of substituting is trying to force them to move to the next thing when they're super into whatever it is we're working on, like a math lesson they really like or something. And then it's, oh, we got to move to reading and we have to do it by this time, because if we don't get this done, it throws the whole day off and I get in trouble because I'm not doing what the teacher says. It's my least favorite part. I wish I could just let them go and do it.
And so know that school is just organized like that. It is unfortunate. I'm not an advocate of that, but you control at home. So at home, what I would say to every parent, and I'm speaking from experience, give your children space just to be. Give your children space just to be. They're going to be adults. We're adults, right? We know what it means to be adults. We know the responsibility of being an adult. Give your children space. So after school, when they come home, I know the generally people say, hurry up and do your homework. Give them some space. Let them just sit for 5 minutes. Just let them sit and breathe and think before they go to the next task, because they've gone the back to back to back to back to back task all day with no space to really breathe. The benefit of this is that they will be more productive. They can do more critical thinking. They can do more problem solving. And so think of this. If you said, Bridget, how do you make cornbread? And I said, oh, that's easy. All you got to do is get the cornbread, the flour, the butter, and then put a few eggs and whip it up, and then you got cornbread. Bye. See you later. Have a good life. You're going to say, what was that? I still don't know how to make cornbread, right? All those steps, I gave them to you so quickly. You know how to cook. You have that experience, but that was too quick. You need to process it and say, hold up. Now I see why we need cornmeal and flour. Oh, okay, we need sugar. So give your children the space to think about the experiences that they've had for the day at the end of the day. I mean, I can't mandate that, but I mean, you'll see a difference in how they're ready for the next activity. And it tests new ideas from previous experiences. Children see things, like they may see and I'm going to say we had a landscaper come and talking about the sprinkler. My grandson was there. My husband was talking to the landscaper. My grandson, I have the picture. He is 5 years old. He is on the picture walking like the landscaper with his hand on his hip, looking at his hair, holding his head, looking at the trees. How does this happen? This is so gorgeous. This is gorgeous stuff. He's created this experience. He's now testing out this new space of, let me consider the trees. Let me talk about the grass. So the children are learning through these, and then it enhances executive functioning skills. And so for me, if I could give one piece of advice to parents and families is, first is economical. You don't need all that stuff. You don't need all the toys. You don't need all the different color coded, all those things. And give your children space to play and play with your children. And so because it really does create this stuff. And so I want you don't have to share, but think about your childhood. Again, I shared my the funnest experience. How much did earthworms cost? How much was the rain? How much do you see? And that experience is really impactful to who I am as a person. Okay, so now to executive functioning. Well-developed executive functioning skills are an important predictor for late academic and life success. If children can self-regulate, they can do anything. you can do anything. And so this is really important because, and I know most of you have children of all ages. So something happens between 3 and 7 that also happens between 15 and 25. Anybody saying what? Now I know why my high schooler, why it seems like he's my 3-year-old. They're going through the same, they're learning the same core skills: inhibitory self-control, working memory, and cognitive flexibility. So when we look at across the lifespan, these peak periods, and this should be really, this is middle school and high school. And so it's almost like you say, if folks say, Mike, oh, this high school age, they can't get anything right. No, they can't. Just as they can't figure everything out in 3 to 7, they need a lot of support. So our children need a lot of support here, because what they're doing is figuring the world out. And remember, what we don't have is that other red thing, the hormones. So I just give that to you so you know that you're not dreaming when you think, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm back at the toddler years. You really are, in the way that children are navigating the world around them. So inhibitory self-control, what is that? So that means task persistence. I can stick with it. I can keep going. I can put the Lego flower, I just learned about those, Lego flower all together at one time. You are able to practice new skills, and the only way you can practice new skills is to sit with yourself and try something. I usually ask adults to think about when you have a hobby. Like I sew, so I practice different things. I'm going to practice the zigzag stitch. Well, it's going to take me a moment to do that because I've been accustomed to the straight stitch. So that's going to be a little bit different. And so, but I need to have that inhibitory control to be able to focus on this new opportunity. It helps you to control your temper, those dinosaur breaths, that space, that place where you can just like get yourself to central, and or neutral, whichever one you want. I always say I want to be back in the center of who I am, because some things environmentally can make you have highs and lows, but inhibitory control really helps with controlling your temper. And then being able to wait your turn. This is so important. And I know I'm talking really fast because I want to talk about all 3 of these, but to be able to wait your turn, how many people would pay for a pocketbook full of this for their kid? I mean, this is where we get those reports from the school. Oh my gosh, they're interrupting. Oh my gosh, they wanted to use the ball, so they knock someone else down to get the ball, and they taking turns. And we still see adults do this. Adults still have a difficult time waiting their turn. And to support this, we can have some play-based activities. Sample play-based activities are the freeze dance. Anybody know that? Like freeze. And you can do this. I like Simon Says and freeze anytime I'm in a crowded place with little kids, so that I can get control and I can say, okay, I see all you humans. Humans come over with me. But it gives them an opportunity to practice controlling their movements. Duck, duck, goose, they have to wait their turn. If you've ever played any turn waiting game, you see some of the kids doing that move like me, it's my turn, my turn, my turn. But these kinds of activities help children to be able to wait their turn. And then role playing, so they can think before they act, they can stay in the character. The thing that my grandchildren really love, they love that story. Oh my gosh, the gorilla. Oh my goodness, it's the night. Good night, gorilla. They love that the keys, those keys. So they all want to be the zookeeper. And so they can stay focused on that at least 10 minutes. And they think that Gigi's playing, but Gigi's really helping them to stay focused for at least 10 minutes. Any questions on inhibitory control? And you can unmute yourself. I can't see you because Sharice, are there any questions?
No questions, but we do have some comments. Desiree was saying, how sorry, I need to go up a little. Going back to doing things for transition, doing songs and singing together. Savannah was saying just how basically when teachers go off just a little bit of what their main teacher does, kids like to say, that's not how my teacher does it. It's a very fine line, which yes, all kids love to be like exactly the same. So Desiree also was talking about just encouraging them learning how to listen to all adults and not just their teachers, and being open-minded, and just the importance of how each child reacts. And then Desiree also mentioned how she loves that each of her kids has a cozy section or beanbag in their room. And Heather mentioned red and green lights on hikes. And Destiny, sorry for saying Desiree. Sorry, Destiny.
That's a good one,
Desiree.
yeah. Well, so I hopefully inhibitory control for me, each of these is important, but that is the one that I really pay attention to for the younger children. But remember my graph, and you all, I will give you all this PowerPoint. But that graph of that when they're 15, this starts over again. But yes, thank you for all those comments, and yeah, I always think about, and David Eklund, The Hurried Child. That's a great book to read, talking about how we engross our children in all these activities, to what end, and how it can become overwhelming. So, working memory. The working memory is really important because as adults, we, before I do anything, I think. Now, I do it unconsciously now because I'm an adult, but most things, unless I'm driving or brushing my teeth, which is scary, which are unconscious things right now, I'm really cognizant of what I'm about to do. And so this is where children learn to think about thinking. They think about what they're going to think about. Isn't that cool? They're thinking about what they want to think about. They're able to remember all the steps in the task. And again, you saw that chart. 15-year-olds have a really hard time. You say, can you please clean your room, take a shower, and come to dinner? All three things won't happen. All three things will not happen. And it's not that they're being defiant or they are trying not to do it. It's that the way that they are processing it makes it incredibly difficult to manage those three requests. Thinking and working at the same time. And you see these children with these little fish cards. They've got to think about the color of the card, and then they've got to choose a card at the same time. That is a very complex skill. Again, we do it automatically now because we've had lots of practice as adults, but it's really difficult. You want your children, 15-year-olds, when you're teaching them to drive, you need them to do this. Think and work at the same time. They need to see the stop sign, and they need to be able to put the car and drive or park. And then consider two different strategies and decide which is the best. So they're thinking about, like, should I do this? Should I do that? Which is the best? And sometimes they do this so beautifully out loud, when especially I see first graders do this because they want to do everything, and so they're like, oh my goodness, should I ride my bike, or should I play with my dog? Should I talk to my friend, or should I? And then they make a decision. They are able to determine which they want to do. Reflecting on the answer, like, well, why is that so? And I think about, I will never forget this example of a little boy with a calculator on this call with all the zeros. But I can imagine him saying, now why do I have 4 zeros instead of 6 zeros like I had for the last calculation? And then taking different perspectives and working at the same time, able to integrate different things. We do this at work. We do this as families. We do this all the time. Think about cooking a big family dinner, and everybody knows how to cook the mashed potatoes, but we come up with something in the end. Like my sister doesn't peel her potatoes. She boils her potatoes, then peels her potatoes. I peel my potatoes, then boil my potatoes. And so thinking about all of those things, considering the perspectives and making decisions, and that's working memory. And some play-based activities that you guys can play: Go Fish, Crazy Eights, any game that has rules. The younger children, Candyland is really great because they have to make decisions and is good for language and recall. But any card game, word games, like going on a picnic. And I'm just going to say, don't forget our singing things, but things where children have to recall. In my home, I make up all kind of crazy things, but I am a preschool teacher at heart. So your name, if it rhymes with something, you better watch out, because Gigi is going to make up a rhyme. We're going to have this, you're going to have your own song and your own thing that we have to remember all the time. And so one of the things that my grandson, when he's taking a bath, he puts bubbles on his tummy now. When he was really little, I'd say, bubble bubbles everywhere, bubble bubbles in your hair, bubble bubbles look like jelly, bubble bubbles on your belly. And now he's older and he sings these same rhyming songs, and he's now making rhyming songs, but that helps with working memory. And then cooking and following instructions. So for those children who are baking cookies and baking cakes and helping make their lunch, these are great ways to think about support working memory. Now, cognitive flexibility is our last element, and it's shifting back and forth. So that means that and you see this in groups of children, especially the older children. I would say by the time they're 6 or 7, they can stack their Legos really quickly. Take your Hot Wheels car, put it on their Legos, then go take a pencil from someone else and go and keep going back. But this is a really important skill, because high schoolers, we need to be able to do that, because when they're in the classroom, they have multiple assignments. Right? When they come home, they need to write a paper and they need to do the calculus problems. So they need to be able to shift their attention back and forth, shifting between parts of the task, being able to say, I am going to do this, and after dinner, I'm going to start again. I'm going to do this now. I'm going to go eat my dinner because mommy called me, and then I'm going to go back to it. So being able to start and stop. And then thinking about multiple concepts at the same time and switching back and forth. I'm going to use my little guy with the calculator. He's using the calculator, but in order to use the calculator, he has to know some basic principles of math. Everybody get that? He's got to know that about dividing something. And so he's going back and forth. And I would love to see his eyes and just see him do this process. But he's going back and forth between these concepts to create a sense of meaning. Adjusting behavior in response to the changing environment. So, sometimes children are, the brothers and sisters may be having fun, but what about when their friend comes over and the whole energy changes? And how do children regulate themselves in the midst of other humans' energy? And so some children may ramp up their energy to meet other children's energy, but some may soften it to meet that bigger energy. And then invest more mental energy is needed. And this is, I think, what Desiree was talking about. Some children need more time. They need more time. And so if your teacher reports, I'm going to give a preschool example, that your child is in the block area all day long, I'm going to say good for them. And I'm going to ask the teacher, so what do you think they're learning? Because something in the child is telling the child that they need to be with the blocks. I know that sounds really sci-fi, but it's not. The child is solving something. It could be shape, form, whatever. And so, but the child is thinking about what is happening. Somebody want to come off mic? I hear someone, but I can't see who. Anybody have a comment about that?
Well, when I volunteered in the classroom, there was a gifted or a child that was on the spectrum, and he really liked dinosaurs. And like when it was time to transition or to do something else, they would kind of like take them from him, and then he would be very, very upset. And so I said, well, what if we have like a dinosaur at the table with him and like make him think that he's feeding the dinosaur too or something? And then she tried it and the dinosaur would sit next to him, and then he would do it every day. Like he would then grab it and say, okay, it's time to eat dinosaur, and would take him with him to the table.
And that is, so guys, can I come meet with you every week? I have so many things, but anything that makes children feel safe, they should have. If it makes them feel safe, they should have. I want you to think about yourself. And so, I like, you guys have probably seen me pick up my little dog every now and then. And so I feel safe. I feel like I'm in a safe space. What makes you feel safe? All of us have something as adults. And so if it makes you feel safe, um, I'm so sorry. I had to look out my window. Looks like someone was in my driveway. I'm like, oh no. But if it makes a child feel safe, it's okay to have. I mean, sometimes our adult rules impact everything else, because that story I saw social, emotional development, cognitive development, and that is really important. So, but when children want to focus on the same thing, if they want to make the same cookies every day and you have the capacity, let them do it. If they want to make the same shape every day, let them do it, because they are learning something. Children know when to try something different. So it's not a negative thing. Like, you have more toys than that. Try something. No, let them continue to explore for what they need to have. And so the best way to strengthen cognitive flexibility is puzzles, because it really helps spatial awareness. Board games, challenge to create. And you can allow children to make up rules, even though board games have rules. Remember how you have your own special family language and culture that you hang out with your family? Create your own funny, silly rules so children can remember and integrate into the games, and then building blocks that really help planning and problem solving. So, in the interest of time, we don't have time to really go over each of these. Let me look at this. Okay. So what I am going to do, maybe for Sharice, do I have enough time to spend like 5 minutes on this with the group? I can't see anyone. I'm gonna just spend 5 minutes.
Sorry, yes, you do. Sorry, I was trying to look and make sure that everyone has the handouts in the calendar, but yes, you have enough time.
And you can use the handouts on your own, and the handouts that I provided also have a lot of activities for each of these. And so what I'm just going to ask a global question based on each of these. Which one made you? Which one was new information for you? They could have all been, but choose one and say why it's important for the way you're thinking about working with your child. Inhibitory control, working memory, or cognitive flexibility. Inhibitory control is self-regulation. Working memory is the ability to focus on multiple elements at the same time. And cognitive flexibility, the ability to switch back and forth. Is that question too complicated?
I think working memory for me personally, I work in ECE as well, and being reminded that teenagers function a lot of the same way that the younger children do. It's a wonderful reminder dealing with my own teenagers that they actually kind of function memory wise the same way that my 3 and 4-year-olds in classroom do. And I have to kind of take the same steps with them that I would giving instructions to my very, very small friends.
Yeah, sometimes that's an aha for parents, but I think it makes folks feel like, what? This explains everything. So that's the one that I always lean in on also. Any others or any comments in general about executive functions? Inhibitory control was new, that self-regulation. Sharice, can you check the chat? They're popping up, but I can't see them all.
Working memory, that's that one. And then Destiny was just talking about some other things earlier, just about doing chores at specific time. Safety provides great learning. So yeah, and then the one that you just read. So that's all in the chat so far.
So I want you all, and I know this was a lot at one time, but thinking about your kids, and so the really the point of executive functions are those executive functions really help us in later life. So all of those skills that we're saying that children are learning to master, these are the skills that we use in our everyday life, and that's why they're so important. But when we give children space to play, so like going fishing or doing any of these things where children can just process and not be doing these like recall activities, basically singing the ABC song, counting from 1 to 100. I know that that they do measure that children can sequence um, characters in a string, but they don't always predict learning. And I know that's for you probably. I say more about that. But so what we want our children to do to be able to ask open-ended questions about the world and to be able to offer solutions. To say, why is the sky blue? I don't know. I don't know, mommy. Maybe because there were pink clouds and butterflies were crying and they were talking to the bunny rabbits over there at grandma's house. You want to hear this. This is good stuff instead of saying A, B, C, D, because that's not real life. Real life is, oh my gosh, how do we solve these problems? So that's really the punchline for those executive function skills. And when children master those skills, they're also stronger students. So when they can stick to one thing for 10 minutes, then guess what? That means it's in their classroom, and they'll be able to do that one thing for that 10-minute interval as well. Does that make sense? So, and do fun things. And so I'm going to shout out a couple of other, for young children, fruit and vegetable washing. You all going to be like, fruit and vegetable washing. That is a really amazing activity, and you have to do it with care and love. So apples we can do really fast because they're so hard, but we don't want to drop them because they get all smushy. And then oranges we can do, and then but what happens by the time we get to raspberries? How gently there. You're also teaching self-control because if I hold a raspberry the same as I hold an apple, uh-oh, what something happened. So but that's a great one for little kids. For older children, what I like to do is pose a real problem. Like, I have no idea what we're eating for dinner, people. I have no idea. My husband would say I say this every day. I have no idea what we're eating for dinner, people. Let's see. Can everybody come up with some ideas? Okay, let's look in the cabinet. So based on what these ingredients, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? What are the possibilities? What have you seen me make before? What have you made before? Do you see you're really getting these? Those are the 15-year-olds. You're really making them start thinking of, in a really dynamic way about real world information. So let's move to the next.
I was going to say that Jamie said that I'm familiar with all that. I was doing ECE at one time, but I did hear some great ideas that really could be beneficial during that time. Destiny said, I loved learning about, I loved learning about saying more of what my child can do so that I can use those things to help strengthen the areas of what they can't do.
Yes, I mean that is I think that's the most important um, um, point of the conversation. And this is my favorite quote. And some of you may have heard me because I use it all the time because I love it. But every child needs at least one adult who is irrationally crazy about him or her. And it's by Yuri Bronfenbrenner. And I believe that. And so as parents, we're that person. We're that person that are the champions for our children, who speak their capacity, who see their gifts, their talents, their love, who see the people that they are going to become in the world. And so I leave this evening hoping that you take the little nuggets nuggets that I've been able to share with you this evening, and continue to build really strong, meaningful relationships with your children, and laugh and giggle with your babies, and know that it matters because it impacts, positively impacts humanity. And so that's all I have for this evening.